Japanese watches are some of the best in the world. Their commitment to innovation and craftsmanship while still incorporating Japanese elements really sets them apart. And while they may not reach the highs of the Swiss, they're arguably the second best watchmaking nation. I personally love Japanese watches. My first watch was a Seiko, and my first luxury one was a Grand Seiko, so I might be a bit biased. But as I had the chance to visit and explore the country's watchmaking scene in recent years, I decided to make this video as a comprehensive guide for anyone interested in Japanese watches. So, without further ado, this is the Japanese Watch Omakase. Seiko is the most important Japanese watch brand, and I think you could even say one of the most important in the world. It was founded in Tokyo in 1881 by Kintaro Hattori. For a long time, Japanese watches were seen as inferior to their European counterparts, but Seiko managed to establish itself thanks to innovation as one of the world's biggest brands. Like in 1969, when they released the first commercial quartz watch. They've been making beautiful watches since. Seiko specializes in offering a wide range of attractive watches for different market segments, all at competitive prices. The Seiko 5 Sports line is the most affordable and perfect for a first watch. My own first watch was a Seiko SNLK 23, a great dressy piece that punches above its price tag. The Prospects line is a more expensive collection designed for professional use, with reliable pieces like the SPB 453, a reissue of Seiko's first diver, the iconic 62 Mass. The Presage line, which price-wise is on par with the Prospects, focuses on more dressy options with traditional Japanese elements, like the SPB 085, which has a beautiful urushi lacquer dial. Seiko watches are available worldwide, even online. But if you are ever in Tokyo and want to buy a new Seiko, go to Seiko Dream Square in Ginza. And while you're there, make sure to check out the iconic Seiko Tower and Seiko Museum next door. If you're more interested in vintage, Fire Kids, Watch City Eye, Watch Chapelle and Mizutani Camera are your best options. I love Seiko, and there are many models I would really recommend. However, I feel compelled to say that prices have been increasing quite a bit over the last couple of years, which has kind of reduced Seiko's value proposition. I still feel some of their watches are really impressive for the price, and the perfect place to start your watch journey. Citizen is arguably the second most important brand in Japan, with a rich history dating back to 1918, when it was founded as a horological research center under the name Shokosha Watch Research Institute. The company was officially renamed Citizen in 1930 due to its mission to make high-quality timepieces affordable to all citizens. Although a really cool brand with a lot of technological contributions, it was historically seen as the less successful brother of Seiko. However, in recent years, they've really started to turn it around. Citizen really shines in the $300 to $700 category, where they have many interesting offerings. The Tsuyosa and Zenshin lines were really well received and are arguably the best integrated bracelet options in this price range. The Citizen Silver Leaf Lacquer line has an incredible texture dial, and the Japanese exclusive Citizen NB1060, which can be had for $500, stands out to me. Lastly, Citizen's most revolutionary technology, the Eco Drive. These watches use light to power a quartz movement indefinitely, without the need of a battery. Citizen watches are available online, but if you find yourself in Tokyo, check out their flagship store in Ginza, or hunt for some of their more exclusive models across the different department stores around town. If you're looking for vintage Citizen, Fire Kids, and Watch Chapelle, have good selection. I used to not really care for Citizen. I felt like their watches were for the layman, not for enthusiasts or collectors. They had some interesting vintage pieces, but their modern pieces felt dated and uninspired. However, in the last 5 years, my opinion has changed significantly. I find the Citizen NB1060 one of the best looking watches under $1,000, and if it didn't have a wide date wheel, I would have already bought one. Orient is one of the best entry-level brands, and one with a long history. Originally founded in 1901, it was shut down for a few years during Japan's post-war economic downturn. But it made a comeback in 1950 and gained a strong reputation for elegant, reliable timepieces. It really stood out during the quartz crisis of the 70s, as Orient, differently from most other brands, retained a strong focus on mechanical timepieces, at which they still excel today. Orient is most known as making some of the best entry-level watches. The Orient Bambino is the most famous and beloved collection from the brand. It offers elegant, timeless, and fun dress watches with a good automatic movement for only $200. The Orient Mako and Kamazu are great dive watches, which can be picked up for $300 and are perfect if you want that submariner look. The Orient Star is the premium line that helped the brand reestablish itself when released in 1951. It offers fun complications from open heart to moonphase dials at different price levels. Orient is readily available online, but if you find yourself in Tokyo and want to see them in person, your best bet is finding it at big and Yodobashi department stores, as the brand does not have its own location. For vintage Orient, consider visiting Fire Kids and Watch Chapelle. I think overall Orient as a brand is great, but one step below Seiko and Citizen. The Bambino, Mako, and Kamazu are perfect entry-level watches, but the brand just doesn't have the same range and pedigree. However, if you want an affordable no-fuss watch that is respected by everyone in the community, Orient might be the brand for you. You might know Casio as a Japanese electronics company famous for its calculators, but this is also a really solid watch brand that is semi-jokingly considered the GOAT. Because really, when you remove all the poetry of mechanical watchmaking, Casio makes affordable, accurate, indestructible watches. Casio focuses primarily on digital watches, and it has some really unique offerings. Their G-Shock line is considered the sturdiest watch around, able to withstand repeated hits from a hammer. They're the perfect beater watches for intense activities, while also being cool enough to be worn in casual settings. If you're into that 80s, 90s aesthetic, Casio also makes retro-looking pieces, like the famous calculator watch. This geeky cold piece might be more calculator than watch, but there is just nothing else like it. But Casio also has some interesting analog offerings, like the Quartz Casio Duro, a simple and reliable diver famously worn by Bill Gates that costs only $50. Casio is easy to find online, so that's a good place to buy them. If you're in Tokyo, most Casio stores will be selling the more expensive G-Shock collection, so stick to the web if you want other models. For vintage Casio, I recommend Watch Opel in Omotesando. I think Casio is really cool. They don't really tick the boxes of most watch enthusiasts, but they don't need to. They're doing their own thing and they're great at it. Style-wise, I personally don't love G-Shock, but the retro pieces are iconic, so if you love technology and want the best value around, Casio might be the brand for you. Kuoe is a new Kyoto-based microbrand established in 2020 that looks at pre-70s vintage watches for inspiration. After falling in love with this period while studying in London, founder Kenji Uchimura spent a decade in the watch industry gaining the required knowledge to launch Kuoe, and his creations have been getting a lot of attention. Kuoe produces few lines that are highly customizable at competitive prices. O. Smith 19001 was the brand's first watch. This elegant and versatile 35mm timepiece looks straight out of the 60s and is powered by a Seiko quartz movement. The Royal Smith 19008, inspired by 1940s cushion cases and powered by a higher-end Mayotte automatic movement, is my favorite watch from the brand. The textured dial is a touch of class, and I love the applied Breguet numerals. The Royal Smith 19010, powered by a premium Citizen high-beat movement, is currently the brand's most popular model. This $900 watch is a bit more expensive, but sells out quickly. Kuoe has its own website that ships to the US, and it is available through different retailers across the world. However, if you really want the best experience and have a chance to do so, you should try and buy one from their boutique in Kyoto, as the memory of buying one in person in this amazing city will make it that much more special. I think Kuoe is a nice brand that sells an interesting product. It is perfect if you're looking for that vintage look, particularly with a Japanese element to it, without having to deal with the headaches of owning vintage. There is probably better value for money, but nothing exactly like it. And if you mix in buying it in Kyoto, it could be a special addition to your collection. Namica is a Japanese micro brand founded in 2020 through some really successful Kickstarter campaigns. This brand aims to create modern and playful watches inspired by different aspects of Japanese culture, everything from cherry blossoms to cyberpunk anime. Namica has quite a unique niche, with a futuristic and playful approach. The star of the show is the new Okami model. Released in 2024, this angular retrofuturistic watch is inspired by TV dials and digital watches of the 70s and 80s. I particularly like the steel Profume dial version. Their only other offering is their first watch, the Shirahama. This minimal yet playful diver is a really good summer watch that ticks a lot of boxes. For $450, you get a regulated Seiko movement, 200 meters of water resistant, and a bracelet with micro adjustments. Namica watches are only available through the brand's website, but they ship internationally. Many options are sold out at the moment, so if you're interested in a particular makeup, make sure you sign up for updates. Namica is a really young brand, which managed to find its own identity quickly. It's really cool to see a brand that's not afraid to try something different. I mainly collect vintage watches, so Namica is not really the brand for me. But if you're into colorful, futuristic watches and want something unique, I really recommend checking them out. Kurono Tokyo is the brainchild of Japan's most acclaimed watchmaker, Hajime Asaoka. Founded in 2018, the brand aims to offer access to Asaoka's design at market-friendly prices. Asaoka stated that he created the brand to be able to afford and wear his own designs, as his namesake watches run in the 6 digits. Kurono focuses on elevating designs through Asaoka's Art Deco flair and mastery of Japanese elements. The Grand Urushi series is perhaps the most emblematic. It sports an Urushi lacquer dial, crafted through an ancient Japanese technique that uses tree-sap. The result is a vibrant and complex dial that will slowly change with sunlight exposure through the years. The green-faced Mori, released for the brand's first birthday in 2020, was the first piece to reach international stardom. This Art Deco watch is both elegant and eye-catching. The Chronograph 2 is my favorite line, and in particular the Shiro, a wide dial 38mm vintage-inspired chronograph with red accents. Kurono conducts most of their sales online through their website. All of their pieces are limited edition and sell out in minutes, so if you want one, make sure to be quick. If you're ever in Tokyo, they have a boutique in Aoyama, where you will be able to see and try all of their previous releases. However, you won't be able to buy any of them as they're all sold out. If you still want one, try and get it from the grey market. I think Kurono's pieces are some of the most stunning watches in the industry, but there is some controversy around them. You see, the movement and parts you're getting are kind of subpar for the price. You're really paying more for Asaoka's name and designs. Whether that's worth it or not is down to you. Otsuka Lotec is an independent watch brand founded by Jiro Katayama, a car and product designer that began experimenting with watchmaking in 2008, using a lathe he purchased online, and by 2012 he had started selling his creations. Otsuka is the Tokyo neighborhood the brand is based in, while Lotec refers to the brand's philosophy of embracing analog low-tech design. Katayama designs and assembles the watches, while production is supported by 3 skilled watchmakers from Precision Watch Tokyo, a company owned by Hajime Asaoka. Otsuka Lotec pieces are inspired by industrial instruments, vintage film cameras, and gauges. The number 6, which won the prestigious Challenge Prize at the 2024 GPHG, is the brand's most known piece. It is inspired by metering devices with a retrograde time display on a vertically brushed dial and a 40mm steampunk case. The 7.5 is also really unique, with a fisheye look inspired by 3 lens turret cameras that utilizes a jumping hour complication. The 5 is the brand's most expensive watch, and it features a satellite hour mechanism where rotating hour discs orbit like satellites to show the time. Like many other successful independent brands these days, Otsuka Lotec operates on a web raffle system. You will have to submit your deposit and hope you're randomly picked. But note that for now this is a Japan exclusive, and you will need a local address and credit card to be able to apply. I think what Otsuka Lotec is doing is quite unique and special. There are some brands that are doing somewhat similar designs at lower prices, but none really as polished and cohesive as these. The brand is quite hyped at the moment, so people are reselling them at a premium, but hopefully they will become more available in the coming years. When that happens, I might buy one myself. The Citizen is the premium line of Citizen. I know, confusing, but it deserves its own episode in this series. Launched in 1995, the Citizen embodies all the best attributes of the brand: quality, innovation, and practicality. For a while, it was mostly ignored outside of Japan, but in recent years, the brand has made a really big push on the design side, and it is finally starting to turn heads. Citizen's collection is split in 3, based on which movement is used. The Citizen Star is the caliber 0100, an eco drive with an accuracy of ±1 second per year. However, I'm not a big fan of the models that use this, as their designs feel a bit anonymous. The Eco Drive Caliber A60 lineup, which is still very accurate, ±5 seconds per year, is a bit more interesting. Crafted in titanium, their designs feel less dated and have incredible dials. This indigo-dyed washi paper one is incredible. The 200 and 210 calibers are mechanical, and thus the most expensive. The stainless steel black texture dial option with the bracelet is really beautiful. Some of the Citizen watches are available online, but you will have a better selection in Japan. Try and visit Citizen flagship in Ginza to see their models in person. I really want to like the Citizen. The product is really good, but it is a horrible name. It's confusing and a bit generic, and most people will assume you're wearing a cheaper Citizen watch. I know a watch enthusiast shouldn't wear watches for other people, but it is a bit annoying when you're paying upwards of 4K to get a luxury item. I also don't really like the Eagle logo on the dial. That said, on the second-hand market, these watches are a pretty good deal. So if you want a non-hype solid Japanese watch that's different, check out the Citizen. Grand Seiko is the main luxury arm of Seiko and one of the most beloved watch brands in the world. It was established in 1960 with the goal of creating the ideal watch. It was the first Japanese brand to really compete with the Swiss. More recently, in 1999, Grand Seiko created the Spring Drive, an incredible movement that combines the best of quartz and mechanical technologies. But even without looking at the specs, their watches just look incredible. Grand Seiko is the king of texture dials, with an incredible variety. The Spring Drive powered Snowflake, with its delicate white dial, is the watch that started the modern Grand Seiko craze. The Shunbun is currently the hottest. Its dial has a subtle textured light pink hue that shifts color under different light conditions. It was designed to capture the essence of fall and cherry blossoms floating on water. My favorite is the Grand Seiko I own, the SPGW231. I love its simple, understated design. It reminds me of a modern Calatrava. I only wish it was a couple millimeters thinner. Grand Seiko is a huge brand, with boutiques around the world. If you are in Tokyo, there are 2 important shops to visit, both in Ginza. The first is the Grand Seiko Boutique, which gets many exclusive limited editions. The other is the Seiko House down the road, where you will be able to see the whole collection and peek at the iconic Seiko clock tower. For vintage, check out Fire Kids and Watch City Eye. I love Grand Seiko. It has a lot of history and makes beautiful watches that can be found for really good prices on the second-hand market. My only complaint is that they make too many limited editions. When you release a limited edition every month, they stop feeling special. I wish they focused more on creating a perfect permanent collection, but I guess that wouldn't sell as much. Regardless, Grand Seiko still remains one of the best watch brands in the world. King Seiko was the second luxury arm of Seiko, and it has a really interesting story. It was originally introduced in 1961 as a counterpart to Grand Seiko, with the goal of having 2 internal brands competing to elevate Japanese watchmaking. Kinseiko's most notable contribution came thanks to designer Taro Tanaka and his grammar of design rules. Inspired by gem cutting, Tanaka preached for flat geometrical surfaces, mirror finishing, and uniqueness. Kinseiko unfortunately shut down in 1975, as Seiko shifted its focus toward quartz production, but his designs still influence the Seiko family to this day. Kinseiko's vintage lineup is simple but excellent. The 4420-9990 was the first model to fully embody Tanaka's design rules, and as such it is highly desired. The 45700X line introduced high beat to the brand and brought further evolution to the iconic 44KS case. The beautiful 4502-8000 was a stark deviation from the brand's original designs, as Kinseiko became funkier in the 70s and evolved away from Grand Seiko. Vintage Kinseiko is highly collectible and available online through the grey market. If you're in Tokyo, you should be able to find some at Firekids and Watch City Eye. Vintage Kinseiko is great. It is a lesser-known piece of watch history that can be had at pretty reasonable prices. I keep saying vintage because Seiko actually brought back Kinseiko in 2022, but I have mixed feelings about this. They just took an old Kinseiko case design, put a cheaper movement inside, and priced it between the Presage line and Grand Seiko. This is not what Kinseiko stood for. Kinseiko stood for excellence and innovation. I really hope Seiko will one day take the time to relaunch this interesting brand properly. Minase is a hidden gem of an independent brand that predominantly targets the local Japanese market. Founded in 2005, the brand merges traditional Japanese artistry with modern innovation. Skilled artisans painstakingly craft their watches in Akita Prefecture, producing less than 500 pieces annually. Minase only has few lines, but all with diverse beautiful dial options. The Windows collection is the most famous, with the brand's patented case-in-case structure, which makes it appear like there is a round case instead of a rectangular one. The Divido line is also superb, with a more traditional design. It still sports the case-in-case, but this time it is a rectangular case instead of a round one. The Masterpiece collection takes the Windows and Divido and elevates them with stunning Urushi lacquer dials and a proportional price increase. Minase has a dedicated website where you will be able to read all about their beautiful watches and buy them. If you're in Tokyo, check out their little boutique located within a covered market under the train tracks in Ueno. I really like Minase's approach to watchmaking. They're focusing on design innovation, bringing something different to the table. Their dials are also really stunning and noteworthy. I think their prices are a bit high, but there are many available on the secondary market at a discount. I also wish some of their models were a bit smaller, but that's just my preference. Overall, Minase is a great lesser-known brand with a distinct Japanese feel. Credor is the high-end luxury arm of Seiko, and the fourth Seiko-related entry in this series. Credor, which comes from the French Cred d'Or, meaning pinnacle of gold, was established in 1974, and today the brand primarily focuses on high horology dress watches for the Japanese market. Although in recent years, the brand has started to offer some of their more commercial pieces internationally. Credor watches are works of art that often incorporate Japanese traditional elements. The HE2 is the brand's most acclaimed piece. This watch removes everything unnecessary and elevates simplicity to its peak. It features an incredible handmade Noritake porcelain dial and the highest grade spring dial movement in a simple platinum case. The Bejeweled Fugaku, a high horology tourbillon with a stunning lacquer and engraved dial showcasing Hokusai's legendary The Grey Wave of Kanagawa, is a stunning achievement and the most expensive piece ever made by the brand. Recently, Credor released the Quan and the Genta design locomotive, two more accessible sporty pieces that are redefining the brand's target market. Credor is now available globally, but their high-end pieces remain primarily reserved for their loyal Japanese customers. If you're in Tokyo, check out some of their watches at Seiko House in Ginza. I really like Credor as it makes the type of dresser time-only pieces that I enjoy. That being said, they are really expensive, particularly given what else is available in that price range. Vintage Credor is also kind of funky, as they used to make more affordable sport watches that would look completely out of place in today's lineup. Overall, Credor is arguably the pinnacle of Japanese commercial watchmaking, and a brand you should really experience in person to fully appreciate. Kikuchi Nakagawa is an independent brand founded in 2018 by a peculiar duo. Yosuke Kikuchi studied as an architect at Tokyo University before moving to Paris to embrace watchmaking, while Tomonari Nakagawa is a trained swordsmith that worked for Citizen and Hajime Asaoka. The two met in Paris in 2012 and combined their surnames to launch Kikuchi Nakagawa with the aim of making watches featuring, and I quote, the abstractness and unreality of metal. In short, they decided to make the idea a watch. The brand's three watches are all inspired by the pre-1950s and feature a similar 37mm steel case. The Genmon is my favorite. It has pad-printed Breguet numerals, spade hands, and softly sloped bezel with no seconds. The Murakumo is very similar, carries over many features of the Genmon, but adds a second subdial and a sharp step bezel. The Chimonji is probably the most appropriate for everyday use, with more casual bar hands and Arabic numerals. Kikuchi Nakagawa does not operate a physical store. If you wish to purchase one of their pieces, get in contact with the brand to get a delivery estimate and to pay the allocation deposit. I think Kikuchi Nakagawa's pieces are really beautiful. Simple, but very classy and timeless. I love their focus on high-level in-house finishing. It is such an interesting angle. Also, one thing I really appreciate about the brand is how transparent they are. You can go on their website and see exactly who produces each individual part. However, they're quite expensive and exclusive, particularly given what else is available for $30,000. But it is definitely one brand I want to keep tabs on. Naoya Hida Co is a high-end independent brand founded in 2018. It is renowned for its neoclassical designs that fuse vintage charm with modern classicism. Although only a young brand, it has already received a lot of praise, and as such, it has an exclusive waiting list for its models. Naoya Hida's watches are elegant and timeless, as if they were from a different era. The NH Type 3B1 is the perfect watch to represent the brand. This 37mm stainless steel and rose gold piece has an incredible silver dial with hand-engraved and lacquer-filled Roman numerals. But the star of the show is the 18-karat yellow gold hand-engraved face of the moon, set on a lapis lazuli disc. The NH Type 1D3 is the most opulent. This is the first 18-karat yellow gold case from the brand, embellished with a hand-engraved decoration on the side. The NH Type 5A is the latest release from the brand, and its first rectangular watch. Every detail is thought out. Even the case is a well-proportioned 33 x 26 millimeters. If you wish to see Naoya Hida in person while in Tokyo, you will have to get in contact with the brand and book a slot for a Friday session at their hidden boutique in the Chuoko district. Please note that you won't be able to just buy their watches. Production is planned 1 year in advance, and during the application period in May, you will have to explain why you want one of their pieces. They reserve the right to prioritize allocation to people that best represents their values. I remember when Naoya Hida first released their watch. I stumbled upon a picture of it online and instantly loved it. There is really something special about the way the brand marries vintage aesthetics with modern quality. Then I checked the price, and I was a bit taken aback. For that money, you can get 1 or even 2 Calatravas. But this brand is not for people that think along those lines. It's for people that are used to handling expensive watches and that really appreciate the craftsmanship of these exclusive little masterpieces. Hajime Asaoka is the most renowned Japanese independent watchmaker. He's the mind behind Kurono Tokyo, which we have already covered, but he owes his fame to his eponymous high horology brand known for its Art Deco avant-garde designs and exquisite craftsmanship. Completely self-taught, Asaoka began his journey in 2005 after reading George Daniels' book Watchmaking and quickly gained recognition for creating Japan's first in-house tourbillon. Asaoka's pieces are simple but dramatic. The Tsunami is a 37mm stress piece with a distinct Art Deco flair. Here, Asaoka's mastery is evident. There is nothing new or crazy, but his design just works perfectly. The Tourbillon Noir showcases Asaoka's technical prowess, combining a sleek design with the aforementioned in-house tourbillon. The Montratact is his latest incredible project. This crystalline design, which is only a prototype for now, contains a number of new and revolutionary mechanisms. Asaoka's pieces are incredibly exclusive, and there is no place to buy them in person, unless you have the right connections. If you really want one and have the cash to splash, keep your eye open for one at auction. His designs are available at a more affordable price through Kurono Tokyo. Asaoka's creations are incredible. However, I have never had the fortune of seeing any in person, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. Hajime Asaoka represents the pinnacle of Japanese watchmaking. He blends tradition and creativity to craft watches that are both functional and artistic masterpieces. Masahiro Kikuno is an independent watchmaker celebrated for his dedication to out-of-the-box ideas. He's a member of the HCI, an organization exclusive to the best independent watchmakers in the world. Obsessed with everything mechanical from an early age, Kikuno creates his watches, and sometimes even the machines needed to make them, entirely by hand. Masahiro Kikuno's creations are influenced by Japanese traditional elements. His magnum opus is the temporal hour watch, inspired by Sashige Tanaka myriad year clock. This work of art follows the ancient Japanese temporal hour system, where the length of each hour widens and narrows depending on the season. Another standout creation is the Orizero, which contains a minute repeater with a moving origami crane automat, showcasing Kikuno's unique artistic ingenuity and technical mastery. He's also capable of more traditional watch designs, such as this stunning avant-garde 2012 tourbillon. Masahiro Kikuno doesn't currently accept orders. If you're serious about getting one of his pieces, your best bet is to infiltrate the upper echelons of the watch world, or to overbid everyone at auction that one time a year one of them goes under the hammer. I think there is something incredible about high horology one-man show like Masahiro Kikuno. His creation might not be for mass production, and as such almost unattainable, but they're not just watches. They're expressions of both mechanical innovation and Japanese heritage, earning Kikuno a revered place on the Olympus of watchmaking. Right now, the world of Japanese watches is incredibly exciting, with both established and independent brands competing to elevate the industry. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I will be making more videos like this, as well as real-life content when visiting Japan next month.